Okay, we stopped after number 6, number 7. So we spoke quite a lot on this night and dawn. This is number 6. Supratike vayo vridhaya hviritasya matara dosham ushasam imahe. Darkness and dawn we desire, two mighty mothers of the truth, fairly fronting us, increases of our spacious being. It is these two mothers which are nourishing or feeding the growth of fire of Yajamana in us. So Yajamana, the fire of Agni, is actually their child. It is in the other place. It is said that the fire sits on the lap of the mothers, of the two mothers. So these two mothers are keeping him in their lap, and he is growing in their care. These two, darkness and dawn, night and dawn. And of course, there is a huge philosophy behind it. This night and dawn. Sri Aurobindo took it into his Savitri and incorporated into all his vision. He took all Vedic imagery, by the way. That's why Savitri is so powerful, because he found finally, as he said, the language which could express his experiences, and that was in the Veda. He said it was only in the Veda that he found this language. And it was nowhere else, neither Gita nor Upanishads, though they are great synthesis of knowledge, they could not give him that language. They don't operate within these visions of dawn and night. And, you know, so, and that's why he says we desire night and dawn. By the way, if you look into Savitri, you will see that he begins his Savitri with the night. The very first sentences of Savitri is, and it is called the symbol dawn. You know? The canto is called the symbol dawn. And it begins like this: it was the hour before the gods awake. It was the hour before the gods awake across the path of the divine event, the huge foreboding mind of night alone in her unlit temple of eternity lay stretched immobile upon silence marge. And then it continues, and then there was a stirring within the night, and then there is a breaking of the dawn. So what is interesting, he begins with the night and he ends the whole story of the biggest poetic creation in the English language with the night also. So he begins with the night and ends with the night. And the end is so prophetic, so beautiful. I will show you this. You must see this.
But I love what you said. I guess it was last week, maybe that even the night is full of light because stars there, and even the day has darkness in it because there's shadows. Everything makes a shadow, and so each one is embedded in the other one. So that's kind of like Shruta me ma prahasihi anena dhi dena horatran samdadami.
Yes. Yes, you are right. And Veda speaks about two nights, yeah? Darker night and this starry night with stars. And yes. Wait a minute. I'm waiting for the kind of thinking of the word of the last canto. What was the last canto word? The only truth I know. The only truth. No, there is no.
Is it in Savitri? Because I have a copy of Savitri here.
Yeah, it is.
Do you want me to get that?
No, here it is. Yeah, we have this, the last verse. I want you to see the last verse of Savitri. What is beautiful about this is that he begins with the night. I just quoted from it. I will maybe even read. And now at the end, when she comes back with the life of Satyavan, then she speaks this. Oops, what jumped? Oh, here it is. This is what she says, awakened to the meaning of my heart, Savitri says, that to feel love and oneness is to live. And this, the magic of our golden change, is all the truth I know or seek or sage. And then it comes to the conclusion of the whole Savitri. I skip with linked hands, Satyavan and Savitri, hearing a marriage march, a nuptial hymn, where waited them the many-voiced human world. And now look at this. Numberless the stars swam on their shadowy field, describing in the gloom the ways of light. Then, while they skirted yet the southward verge, lost in the halo of her musing brows, night, splendid, with the moon dreaming in heaven, in silver peace, possessed her luminous reign. She brooded through her stillness on a thought, deep guarded by her mystic folds of light, and in her bosom nursed a greater dawn. This is the meaning of the night. She is pregnant with the dawn, and the greater dawn is coming through her, from within her. This is profound. Yeah? This is the meaning of the night, of the Vedic night. That's why Rishi invokes the night. He says we desire night and dawn. We want them both. We don't want only dawn. It's not possible. We want the embodiment, the manifestation of the divine force here. The two mighty mothers of the truth. Beautiful. That's only the Veda can do this. Yeah. Other, of course, philosophies, they already, they go against darkness. And there is this night and dawn, symbols of the alternation of the divine and human consciousness in us. The night of our ordinary consciousness holds and prepares all that the dawn brings out into conscious being.
Don't you think it takes, even though night and dawn are, night and day are realities for every being, there's the consciousness, I think, has to be cultivated to make use of the night properly. Otherwise,
Absolutely.
like you said, everybody's trying to get rid of it.
Absolutely.
Everybody's trying to push it away, not understanding the critical importance for evolution of kind of integrating and digesting both of those realities into one wholeness of consciousness. And that kind of takes some powerful, sadhana and all the other, things to cultivate the awareness to make use of the night.
Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. By the way, to realize that, to see this necessity of and not only necessity, it is the reality of our life. You cannot but live through day and night. Yeah? We rise to higher consciousness in us, and then we return to our ordinary one, yes, which is in the night, in the darkness, in the separated consciousness. So from our experience of light and to unity and oneness, we come back to the separated consciousness all the time. So what are we doing then when we come to that separated consciousness? What is happening then? Yeah? We don't include it into this process. We exclude it, and then we blame ourselves, we blame others for what they did to us. We totally misunderstand the process. We we are misled in the night. Yeah?
We
think,
vilify the night.
yeah, and
we turn it into an enemy to get
exactly.
to be moved away from instead of.
Yeah. And this alternation of the divine and human consciousness is the way to really build anything here. Yeah? You cannot deny a human consciousness and say you go only for the divine. It won't work. Yeah?
Right.
There is no way to do it. It's not the process. It's not the evolutionary process which is taking place. It is constant. When you rise higher, you dive deeper. The higher you rise, the deeper you dive. And it will go on. And nothing you can do about it. You cannot just rise and never dive deep into the darkness. It will not happen. You will dive deep. So what will you do with that depth of darkness then? Can you make it your friend? Can you really make it, how to say, stay conscious within it? This is the profound question, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody has anything more profound than this. Yeah, Lynn,
Yeah,
you?
well, and I think you're right when you say we can't we exist in this, and not only that, our ancestors existed in it. The entire life of this planet.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you look at the sunflower in the day, or the dog howling at night, they are all participating in this cycle too. It's a reality. It's not. I don't see much point in pretending that spiritual development is some unending progression toward the light and denial of the dark.
Of course, can't be. And look at our lives. We sleep half of our life. We all go to sleep. Yeah. So what is happening to us? We are kind of losing the connection with our awakened consciousness, and we fall into some kind of another trance or another state of mind or another way of living. But every day we do this. And we are not even aware how important it is. We are constantly sleeping in the night. So we are going into some kind of, we are absorbing the light. We are reconnecting it with our deeper reality, so to say, with our darker reality. And that is the very purpose of life. We have to have an impression, an imprint, and then it sinks into, and it is absorbed in our deeper sense, in our maybe genome is tuning to these impressions we had in the daytime. Even our physical life is built in the particular way, in this way of impression and assimilation of impression. And this is constantly going on, ongoing process. Who can change it? Why should we want only daytime to be always awakened? We can't. We are here to work to do. We have to bring that light into the very substance of our being, which is slowly and constantly changing because of that, and becomes more and more suitable for the embodiment of the spirit. So the more light can come, and the more it can be absorbed and assimilated into the system. And that's why it is a starry night. It's a beautiful vision. very much. I was totally impressed by this, when I discovered that these are the psychological states. So first you rise and then you dive. And it is happening all the time. And I think, why do you have to fall down? You're not falling down. You must go down. You're not falling. You're flying into the night. You must go there with the light. But what will you do? You immediately lose yourself. You lose all the light, and you blame yourself and blame others and curse yourself all the time that you lost it. Instead, you have to be conscious that this is the process going on. And you have to endure. You have to stay there, conscious as far as you can. See the process of assimilation and adaptation and change. And this is it. There's nothing more to do.
I think another thing that happens is that nobody really is educated in the value of rest, is how important rest is in the process of evolution. And rest means withdrawing from activity, withdrawing from your ambitions and your accomplishments. And it's such a critically important, people think, at least in our culture, I'm not so sure about yours, but I think so, that you're only valued to the extent that you're being productive and you're being active. And if you're not being active, then you're considered to be lazy or something along those lines. When, like that beautiful thing that you just finished explaining in such a beautiful way, you must stop. You have to stop acting at least some part of every day. And that stop, the more conscious you can be during that stop, the more you would be in complete alignment with nothing but being. And you need to be conscious of that. But people need to stop. And the night is the opportunity that the divine has given us, has forced us actually to stop and be still and be quiet, close the eyes and be within ourselves in some capacity, whatever way we are capable of. And I think that part of the abhyasa is not just studying, but is practicing being on a daily basis, being still and being quiet and being inward in the night.
Yes, and I'm chuckling because, of course, I totally agree with you, and yet I'm reflecting upon how when the night changes, as it did with the storms the other day, how long it takes to get adjusted again. When when you don't have that rest because you're watching the storms or something, it just really, it's astounding how it affects you, and of course then you're thinking, oh, I'm just stumbling around, but then yesterday, as I did my errands, I would be running and talking to other people in the same state, realizing I'm fighting to stay awake. And I know it makes you aware of how much you miss the night when you can rest.
And these are too, the silver piece, the night with her silver piece and the moon dreaming in heaven, all these qualities of cooling down, and this hot and luminous and golden day, which is heating up. So heating and cooling, it's constantly going on, rising and diving deep into the deeper being in us. And this is going on and will go on, because this is the way how it is designed in time. There is no other way in time to reach to that transformational goal which we are all looking for that immortality at the end. So this is the way, this is the path. And the problem was for me always, whenever you dive into night, you are kind of denying light, as it were. You don't need to deny light in the night. You have to understand that this is the process of assimilation. You have to keep up with this process. You have to value this assimilation. You have to see in it the meaning, and then you will rise much easier out of it. But if you are misled by this night and think, okay, I lost the light and I go into the night, and you continue to do stupid things, you may not rise into the light very, very soon, and will lose your path, and which can be the case because you do not understand, or we do not understand the value of this assimilation, why it was there. We are just not educated in the Vedic terms. Yeah? We are not understanding why we have to lose that grip over that happiness and light and joy and unity and love, why it has to fade away into the darkness. But it has to, because everything you got has to come down there. It has to be assimilated by our being there. That's why we are here. We will be doing it whether we want it or not. It is our purpose, our meaning. That's why we came here. We came to bring that light into this darkness, and we will be doing it. So in the Vedic terms, of course, in the Vedic philosophy vision, it's clear, but it is not clear anywhere else. Nowhere else. Even in the post-Vedic great philosophies, such as Upanishads, Vedanta, and Gita. Gita is so profound. We saw how Gita deals with reality. But this imagery is no more meaningful there, so to say. Gita found other way of talking about it. All right, let's take number 7. Vatasya Patman Ilita Daiviyahotara Manushach Imam no Yajnam Agatam. O ye divine priests of our humanity, O worshipped twine, approach on the paths of the life breath to this our sacrifice. The two divine avatars on the path of the wind are explained by Sayana as Agni and Surya, as they may be connected with heaven and earth, day and night, and their locations. The path of the wind, Vata, Vayu, connects them from earth to heaven and from heaven to earth. It is like a double turbulence. These three are to be united for the fulfillment of the sacrifice. These three, that means Agni, Vayu, and Surya, according to the Brahmanic literature, and Sayana is following that ritualistic vision. What is interesting that after day and night, we have more essential hotars. We have those who are invoking the divine activity within our darkness and within our light. So within darkness, there will be Agni. Agni is always within the darkness. He descended into the darkness. He descended into the darkness and found his place there, immortal among mortals. Yeah? His location is in the darkness, in the night. And the sun is always in heaven. and heaven is Diauch, and Diauch is actually light. So the sun is the essence of heaven, Agni is the essence of earth, and in between there is this Vata or Vayu, which connects them. One foot is on heaven, and other foot goes down to earth, but doesn't reach the earth. The other foot stands on firmly on earth and rises to heaven, but doesn't reach heaven. So these kind of spiral dynamics is such that each foot is on different opposite position, but together they build this double spiral or double tension, and that is Vayu. So Vatasya Patman Ilita Daivyahtara Manushah. So in the on the path of the life breath, so on the path of the vital force, you two Hotars, Sun and Agni and Surya, and the two Hotars of Manu, come to our sacrifice, to this our sacrifice. Approach it, make it work. These two. It's kind of interesting that after day and night, these two are mentioned in the same, in the similar framework, in the same mindset. And by the way, there is the whole hymn dedicated to this double sun, because the sun which is rising from below is actually the power of Agni, is that generated by the sun involved in the darkness. So there is one sun involved in the darkness, and there is other sun which is uninvolved in heaven. And these two suns, so to say, two sources of light, are actually one sun, which we don't see it, that it is one. We see them as separated because our consciousness separated our views. We can look down and up. We can have an evolutionary look at the development in time. And because of that, we can see two suns, but actually it's one and the same sun. So that when the Rigveda says that Agni is rising from Vivasvat, and this sounds very strange because Vivasvat is the lord of the sun. How can Agni rise from Vivasvat? Rise means comes from down up. So how come? It's not possible. But it means that the sun, Vivasvat, is involved within the darkness. And from there, the fire rises, the Agni rises, calling for the uninvolved and sun from above, Surya. Not Vivasvat in this case, but Surya. Very, very interesting vision of the two Hotars. The whole hymn is dedicated to these two. We should read it once. To the two divine Hotars. And they are both invoking divine forces, but they are divine Hotars. How come? How? I understand how Agni invokes all the divine forces, because it is that aspiration in us. It invokes help for us to grow in consciousness here in the darkness. But how the Surya invokes the divine, how that supramental being involves or invokes, how come that they call him also in the one who invokes the divine forces, Hotar. Hotar is the one who calls for the divine powers. And then I thought, yesterday I thought about it, that supermind is also a link between the transcendental and this world. So all the powers of Satchitananda are involved because of the supermind, kind of bringing them down into our lower hemisphere. This could be that invoker, Surya invokes all the Aditya powers of Varuna, Mitra, Aryaman, Bhaga, Daksha, Amsha, and Surya. This is the Hotar of those powers, transcendental powers. Well, this is only a thought. I got it in the morning and I thought, wow, it's interesting that it comes in this way, to see the Surya as the invoker of the deeper divine powers, transcendental, to be involved into this manifestation. And Agni is nothing but the projection as the psychic being. So in us is the projection of our unborn self. So, and invokes this unborn self to be born here, so to say, to change our our being in time and space. So in that sense, they are both invoking the divine powers.
But is the Surya that is the Surya as the it's the um, it's the symbol or the embodiment of the higher divine reaching down for us, reaching down for that higher for us to find that higher consciousness, or it's not. I mean, that's pretty much Agni's job.
No, Agni's job is to call, and Surya's job is to answer. Yeah. So to say, Agni is calling; he is the Hotar. But how they can call Surya the Hotar? And that was the question. Yeah, Surya is invoked. Yeah, so powers of Surya, of supermind, are invoked. And all the gods are the powers of that supermind. But within that supermind, there is something going on. And that's what I thought. Yeah? That the supermind itself is the link between Satchitananda and this world. It's a link world. It represents the Satchitananda into our lower hemisphere. Our lower hemisphere of mind, vital, and body, of heaven, space, Antariksha, and Prithvi, is born out of that triple supermind, or that, that transcendental vision. But what he could invoke, yeah, the supermind, it can invoke only the transcendental powers, which he, or the supermind, represents. The same as Agni represents all the gods here. Though he is rising, he represents all the gods who are involved, whom he invokes. And there is a hymn which describes this very beautifully, saying that you, Agni, are Rudra and Vishnu and Mitra and Varuna and everyone else, one by one. They are all him, Agni, because he invokes them, and they come through him into this world. So the same,
beautiful.
Yeah, and the same through Surya. All these Adityas come to this world. Because of Surya, they all, Varuna, Mitra, Aryaman, Bhaga, Daksha, Amsha, they all can come through him because he calls to them, so to say. He is their Hotar. He is their priest. He is their, he does the ritual for them here in this world. He is the eye of the gods, through which all the gods can come down and see the world.
So it's pretty, I mean, it's very fortunate that we have both of those Hotars.
Right. Oh, well, one would not work, yes. And the other one has to be there because this Agni is calling to Surya. Agni wants to unite with Surya, with the transcendental. It is in Surya, Agni finally gets his highest home. Yes, it is him. It is Surya involved. Agni is the action of Surya involved. Yeah. Whereas he wants to get the light of uninvolved, pure light, transcendental light here. And once these are connected, then the sacrifice is done. So heaven and earth become equal and one. The physical and the spiritual become one. There is no more difference. That's the purpose.
And then somewhere along the line there's this enormous, just bliss generated by that process.
Right. Well, that's right. Well, the bliss is the outcome of this process. Yes, right. It's the result, the byproduct, as it were. The bliss follows it up closely. The bliss is the proof of the path being trod, being followed, being walked in a proper way. So it tells us, yes, you are going right way. Yeah, you get the bliss, and the bliss tells you, okay, go for more. You go for more, then you go the right way, right direction. So the bliss tells us that we are on the right path. And since we are so attracted to it, so it leads us on the path, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Fortunately for that. That's why all that, those kind of early Christians and all of that, with their flagellation and their, their sacrifice and the things that, and the misery, and they did all these miserable practices in the name of the divine. And they suffered so much because they thought that was what they needed to do, and not realizing that you're led on by the bliss and not by that suffering.
With this suffering kind of perversions, which is very Asuric way of, mutilating the body, causing the pain. Many Christians did this, yeah, like, and they wanted to feel as Christ felt and so on. There's a very weird thing behind them, that the pain itself is actually a bliss, yeah, but it is because it is in the darkness, and because it is in the narrow consciousness, it causes pain and not bliss. So because of this darkness of this ignorance in us, yeah, they could get to that bliss only through pain, so to say. The pain is the path. Yeah.
Well, there's and I think there's in the United States, in some of the Native American traditions, there were rituals of this sort, and some of it was very practical to become an adult, to live in certain places. It was necessary for the men to be able to hunt and fish in all weather, and so it was part of the coming of age of toughening up just to survive. And some of these were kept later, just really as a way of affirming and strengthening the spirit from all of the pain they endured after being defeated.
Mm.
So it's Asuric that there can be a positive function at certain times and places, perhaps.
Of course. Asuras are stronger than gods, it seems, because they can endure all the darkness. Yeah, they have the power to endure and to deal with darkness. That's why they are stronger in this manifestation than gods. Gods do not have that power. They have the power of light, and they need completely different state of mind, which is not ignorance but knowledge. And where would you find knowledge? Here in this world. So when they come here, they are powerless. The Titans beat them. The Rakshasas and Asuras are stronger than them. They have nothing to say here in this world, or very little to say. So that's why this sacrificial process is so important for rishis. They always struggle with these forces, yeah, of opposition, because when they want to invoke these powers, they have to settle within our consciousness, which is in the darkness. So how to do it? You have to become a fortress for them. You have to become an altar for them, where they would come to your altar and will be safe around that fire, to partake of the sacrifice, to partake of the enjoyment you give to them. And it's not an easy thing to do, because we are always in the opposition to the darkness and these forces in the darkness. It's quite an interesting kind of perspective you brought with practicalities. Yes, practically we should develop those dark forces in us, because then we will become much more sustainable in this world of darkness. But our purpose is not to sustain the darkness. Our purpose is to bring more light into it and to sustain light in it. So here
Well,
we are.
we're always talking about these battles, and and I mean, you somehow we keep realizing, the rishis keep telling us, it's so much easier if you just stop fighting, but you have to keep. I mean, there's this battle that's always there.
The moment you stop fighting, you will be doing something else. So what will happen? You will just join those parties, those other forces, and become something like, very practical, doing things very right, and within your culture, and so on and so forth. They are going beyond it. They want to do something impossible, incredible, something which is bringing nature out of equilibrium of settled things and settled forces. They disturb the equilibrium with their, these divine powers, and divine powers themselves cannot handle the darkness. They do not have enough strength to stay. So Yajamana has to provide that ritual, that sacrifice, that particular sacred space within him. Being here involved in the darkness, he has to bring light into it. This is all what we are here to do, really, to bring.
I keep thinking about Ayurveda in this regard, because it was said one time to me in a Ayurveda, in the context, is that that sattva is completely impotent. It just is, and likewise tamas is impotent, because it's lazy. I mean, it's kind of inert, and that the only thing that is powerful is rajas, which is a kind of light, but it's the light of it's light of kind of heat and fire and ambition and hunger and desire and all of those other things. And so somehow the sattva has to be it's like it has to become transparent.
Well, yeah, we just read in the Gita, yes, that sattva binds us with the happiness and knowledge. Well, if you want to be happy, you have to be sattvic. And when you want to have knowledge, self-realization, you must become sattvic. The rajas binds us with activities, with karma, with all kind of desired activities, motivated by desire, usually. And tamas binds us with ignorance, indolence, moha, with moha.
Moha, right.
With that sleep, with forgetfulness. We don't want anything. We had enough of it. We know it all ends in sleep and destruction. So we want to fall into that state. Faster the better.
Oh man. So Lynn and I are both wanting to do that.
And me also, to go to sleep and disappear in this soft and sweet bed, dreams.
It doesn't happen. It just, it doesn't happen. But somehow it's, you have, I mean, Vayu is
Rajas.
Vata. It's Vata. And they say the Vata leads everything else. It leads all the other doshas. So you need to have that. But then when Vata becomes overbearing, then you end up losing the light. You lose the light. You lose the stamina. You lose the ability to sleep. You lose the ability to have heaven and earth. You lose the ability for night and day. You lose those things when Vata becomes too much.
Such as when we have tornadoes.
Yeah.
It's really too much, and of course it starts this encounter between heat and the and the
Water.
wet, the hot and cold, the wet, and it starts to mix up and turn. So yeah, and then nobody sleeps. Figure it out.
So the thing is here that I think is the rishis trying to say that, I mean, that you need to have them both. You need both Agni and Surya, and you need both night and dawn, and you need these kind of mutually exclusive things to be somehow, heaven and earth to be somehow united for the fulfillment of the sacrifice. You have to have them, you have to find a way to unite those opposing, and that's what the work, I guess that's what the work is.
Yeah, exactly. Sacrifice cannot be done without the night. And the night is the location of all the luminous luminaries. Yes. If you don't have a location, how it can be done, and what can be offered for the transformation, for the change, if not the things of night? It is within the night that the transformation is taking place. How else sacrifice is possible? No, no way.
But I think, don't they generally say that you never do yagyas at night except certain, like Shivaratri and that kind of thing? You don't ever do those sacrifices. You do them during the day.
Oh, yeah, you invoke the first, you start with the night, with the dawn, yeah, before the dawn, you lit the fire, and then you invoke the dawn, and then Savitar, then Surya, and so on. The day starts. But in the night, fire is burning, yeah. It is the only luminary in the night. Well, not only, there are other stars
Well, there's the stars, yeah.
and
And
moon.
the moon.
Yeah, silver piece. Yeah, this it's much more complex than it looks like. Yeah, so we have the whole set of things. We have on one side we have Devayana with Surya leading to the grahas. On the other hand, we have moon and nakshatras in the night. Yeah, all the stars with the moon as their husband. Yeah, who with earth does something in the night, stirring the whole process of change, in bringing and reflecting the light of the sun into the night, into the body of the night.
Mm.
So these two constantly, Pitriyana and Devayana, going on, right and left hand, our split, this double sacrifice, no, this one sacrifice between the two, the interaction between the two is taking place. I think this is true to our nature and to our purpose. We have to understand the purpose, then everything becomes more or less clear why they speak in this way and why these are two divine avatars. And now we are coming to the rivers, and this is interesting. Ila Sarasvati Mahi Tisro Devich Mayo Bhuvach Barhich Sidanto Asridach. She of the vision of knowledge, she of its flowing inspiration, she of its vastness, three goddesses who give birth to the bliss. They who stumble not, may they take their seats at the altar strewn of the sacrifice.
What does that mean, altar strewn of the sacrifice?
This is barhis. Barhis is the grass.
That kusha grass or whatever?
Yes, which is from root brich to expand, which vacates the place within our consciousness for the gods. So we kind of put the grass around the fire and say, Indra first, you take your place in accordance with the norms of the partaking of the soma. So all the gods are invited in a particular fashion to take their places around the fire. And there the Soma Yaga will be performed and they will partake of that delight. So it is for them. So here the Ila, Saraswati and Mahi, three great rivers, are invoked. And they are three of the 7 rivers. Other 4 rivers are not mentioned by names, but they are mentioned by numbers, 7 rivers. And these rivers, these 3 are of the supermind. It is Ila, Sri Aurobindo says, the goddess of revelation. Saraswati is the goddess of the word. So if Ila is of revelation, of drishti, then Saraswati is of shruti. And Mahi is that of that vastness which includes them both and creates what we know as intuition or viveka, discrimination, power of discrimination. So these 3 rivers.
That intuition is Mahi?
No, there's not.
Okay,
she creates.
So repeat the 3 again of which one is drishti?
Drishti is Ila.
Yeah.
Saraswati is Shruti. And Mahi is Viveka, if you will. But Mahi is vastness. She includes them both. And for Viveka, you need both. You need seeing and hearing, or apprehending and comprehending. That's how we can distinguish things. We have to see them and to understand them at the same time. Then there is the border, the touch. We can define the border of the thing, or the border of the event, or the border of the influence of the divine force, where it begins and where it ends and why it is there for. So that is Viveka. So Sri Aurobindo speaks about these 3 in terms also of Brihat, of Satyam, Ritam, Brihat. Satyam is first, Ritam is second, Brihat is third. So these are the 3 powers of the supermind. Satyam is the static truth, Ritam is dynamic truth, and Brihat is vastness, which includes both.
So is that vastness the same vastness of Varuna? Is that also our Varuna?
I think so. Varuna as vastness is the very vastness of every vastness. Yeah. So it is the very thing. Whenever vastness takes place, that would be Varuna's vastness. Yes.
So Mahi and Varuna have something of each other in each other. They're kind of commingled in that way.
Yeah, Mahi represents the quality of Varuna in this particular setting of the supermind. Yeah,
I see. In this, so Varuna is so. Wait a minute.
And also Mahi represents not only of Varuna but of Mitra, Aryaman, Bhaga, Daksha, Amsha, and Surya, because it's a supramental force. It works already through all of them, but as you rightly put one aspect out as vastness, then it would be the vastness of Varuna, correct? And there will be the light of Mitra, and there will be the power of Aryaman, and the bliss of Bhaga, and the discriminating thought of Daksha, and the
So is
The
that would be Mahi then, that has all of those things within her,
yes,
or
Mahi.
it's Va?
Mahi
Okay,
has
go ahead.
all of these things in her, as well as Ila and Saraswati, but they represent one particular movement or current, which is important to emphasize and to bring forward. And one is Dreshti, other is Shruti, and other is Viveka. But it is all built on those aspects which are behind, of the vastness of Varuna, of the light of Mitra, of the power of Aryaman. How can you do without power? You can't do without
So
power.
so those Adityas are behind, then
They are,
they're the underlying thing, and then these rivers are um, faculties, or they're channels through which those behind Adityas operate in the
yeah,
world.
yeah. Mahi is if I were to identify these 7 rivers, these 4 first rivers are not named. This is the river of Varuna, river of Mitra, river of Aryaman, and river of Bhaga are not named. But the river of Daksha is Ila, river of I'm speaking of in a very lame language. River of Amsha is Saraswati, and the river of Surya would be Mahi. If I were to identify, since your mind demands the identification, 1 equals 1, and tell me what it is, this is the way how we can speak about it.
Well, it seems like they're all kind of embedded in each other. It,
Right.
they're not one-to-one correspondences exactly, but they're aspects of the divine that operate in their own kind of skill set.
Right.
Is that right or
Anyway,
wrong? Is that wrong?
it is right, because one is embodied within the other. Yeah. So mm, you have an embodiment of one within the other. So to say, the Surya represents all the 7 of Adityas in one go. Yeah? So there cannot be Surya without 7 brothers being, or 6 brothers being before. Yeah? The same with these rivers. Mahi cannot be without Ila and Saraswati. Yeah? So to say, Mahi is the outcome of Ila Saraswati being there already. Yeah? And Ila Saraswati is the outcome of 4 rivers being before. And they are all embedded. It's like matryoshka, one into the other. They are all within. So there is no vastness without Saraswati hearing Shruti and Ila as Drishti. There would be no vastness. What vastness if you don't see and you don't hear? So what?
Well, so all of those things exist, but they would exist in a particular um, um, a particular correspondence depending on the rishi or whoever is seeing those things, or whoever's doing the sacrifice. It would be, one would predominate or the other would predominate depending on your own nervous system and your own the nervous system and the consciousness that is seeing it, or that is hearing it, or that is right.
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
these 3 are the major faculties of consciousness. Yeah, as you can see, this
Yeah.
is seeing, hearing, and discrimination or discernment. Yeah, we have to stop. I think we are over time quite a bit. Yeah.
Yes, yes, I'm sorry. It's wonderful, but so if you want to continue, go ahead, but we'll have to leave.
Yes, sure. We can stop. Yeah, I'm also have to. I have to leave.
No
I,
meeting
I
next.
I was just carried away with this, but we will come
Me
back
too.
to
I
the.
never want to stop.
Yeah, I couldn't see even the time. So sorry. I saw you being nervous already, and then because you have to go. Yes. Yeah. All right. Let's close with mantra and come back to it again and speak about these 7 rivers, 7 portals or currents. Om Bang Me मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य म आणीस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासिः अनेनाधीतेन होरात्रान् संदधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम् अवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः